Hi, I'm Chris Hurt, and if you have watched Bitcoin's meteoric rise and fall over the past year, and you're wondering if now is the time to buy, I have some good news and some bad news. Faster than Google, faster than Amazon, Bitcoin was the fastest asset in history to reach $1 trillion market cap. It broke records, both for how quickly it soared and how fast it made early investors insanely rich. CBS News reports there are now as many as 100,000 people who have $1 million or more in Bitcoin, which means that in the 12 years since Bitcoin went live, on average, it has minted 22 millionaires every single day. Well, I'm not one of them, and chances are you aren't either. But my guest tonight says that we have a second chance to make a fortune in crypto. That man's name is Teeka Tiwari. He is a former Wall Street VP and hedge fund manager who broke ranks from the financial elite in 2016 to recommend Bitcoin. Now, at that particular time, it was trading for just $428. Now, back then, Warren Buffett called it rat poison squared. JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon said it was a fraud, and CNBC's Jim Cramer called it phony money. These so-called experts cost investors millions, because if you had followed Teeka's advice, by the time Bitcoin soared to an all-time high of $64,000 just this spring, you'd be sitting on an astonishing 15,045% gain, which happens to turn $1,000 into over $150,000. Teeka's recommendation, in fact, made some people millionaires. You'll meet a few of them later on tonight. And thanks in part to this wild prediction, Teeka was actually voted the #1 most trusted expert in cryptocurrency by a panel of 130,000 financial analysts. Today, he is, in fact, one of the most widely followed crypto experts on the planet, and we are thrilled, genuinely thrilled, that he's agreed to join us tonight. For the first time in 5 years, Teeka is coming forward because he's found another cryptocurrency with massive potential. And not only that, he has promised to share its name with us for free this evening. So sit back, get comfortable, grab a pen and paper, because if history repeats itself, you do not want to miss this. All of this and more ahead on tonight's program, Crypto's Next $1 Trillion Coin. Teeka Tiwari, I am so glad, genuinely glad that you could join us tonight. How are you?
Chris, I'm doing great. It's amazing to be here, and I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight.
That's a very good point. And I want to say that I'm very happy that you're here, because small investors like me, we have a problem. Right now, we're wondering to ourselves, why in the world didn't my broker tell me about Bitcoin? Number one, it's his fault, it's not mine, right? And number two, should I consider buying some now, or should I double down?
Chris, I don't think you're going to like what I have to say. Those same so-called experts who missed out on Bitcoin, they're urging you to buy it right now. And while I love Bitcoin, if Bitcoin's the only thing you buy right now, you could be making a massive mistake.
Great. So now that I finally have decided to buy Bitcoin, you're telling me it's a mistake.
I'm saying it's not the smart thing to just buy Bitcoin. And this is the reason why, Chris. There's something that I think can move a lot faster than Bitcoin. And let me show you something that I've used over the years to help my readers make a lot of money. The thing that I've learned what to do is not to listen to what these people are saying, these Wall Street elites. So when they told me Bitcoin was a fraud, I just ignored them. What I focus on is I pay attention to what they're doing. Now, back when the head of JP Morgan called Bitcoin a fraud, guess what his traders in London were doing? They were buying Bitcoin. So then, like now, what I'm seeing is the wealthiest, smartest, and most connected investors in the world, the same folks who are recommending you buy Bitcoin and just Bitcoin, they're not telling you the full story. You see, they're also pouring cash into an even bigger opportunity at a rate that no one has ever seen before. I want you to take a look at this chart. This is a window into the hidden world of venture capital investing, and it shows us how much money VCs are pumping into the cryptocurrency market.
Right. So if I'm seeing this correctly, Yeah, there was barely any interest from 2010 to 2013, maybe a couple of $1 billion from 2014 to 2017. And then on the right side of the graph, all of a sudden, it spikes.
It spikes. This year, more than $17 billion was flooded into crypto, more than the last several years combined.
Combined. That's incredible. Can you tell us more about why this is happening and what exactly it means? Because I'm really starting to feel like I've missed the boat again here.
Absolutely. I can understand you feeling that way. And I'll answer those questions in a second. Before I do, what I want to let you know is that some of the smartest, most connected investors in the world are pouring in as we speak. So Mark Andreessen just invested $2.2 billion and says it's the most important technology since the internet. He should know. He's in the Internet Hall of Fame for creating the first web browser, Mosaic. Tim Draper is going all in too. He's the legendary venture capitalist behind Skype, Hotmail, and Twitter. And today, he says crypto is one of the greatest technological advances that humanity has ever seen. And he's in for $1.3 billion. Then there's Peter Thiel. He backed PayPal and Facebook, and he's committed a massive $10 billion to crypto because, in his words, it will change the world.
Okay, forgive me. Let me stop you right there. I want to make sure I'm getting this straight. Those billionaires that you just mentioned, Teeka, Andreessen, Draper, Thiel, they made their fortunes with well-placed bets on disruptive technology. Now they're going all in on crypto, and this year they're pouring in more cash than the past several years combined. Am I getting that right?
Right. So when you ask me, is it too late? And you look at that quality of money coming into the market now, does that look too late to you? No, it doesn't.
Right, but now are you implying that they're not buying Bitcoin?
No, not at all. Of course they're buying Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a peerless asset. However, a huge part of this cash is flowing into a different crypto, a crypto that I believe has the potential to have a bigger overall percentage return than owning Bitcoin right now. And I'll share all the details on that in a moment. All told, though, I want you to know that I've identified 9 billionaires who have been in a buying frenzy. And that's the bigger issue here, because a lot of people think that this opportunity is over, and it's just beginning. I've uncovered major purchases from a handful of Fortune 500 companies. I'm talking about companies like JP Morgan Chase, IBM, Microsoft, Amazon, Walmart. In fact, Forbes found 24 companies with $1 billion or more pouring money into this coin now. Now, most retail investors haven't caught wind of it yet, but it's a massive shift by these insiders. I call them these shepherds of massive institutional capital are coming into the space. But the key is they're buying an asset other than Bitcoin.
Well, then I have to ask the question, why does it seem like Bitcoin is getting so much attention these days? Because I know Bloomberg has predicted it's going to hit, $400,000 by 2022. CBS is reporting there may be now 100,000 Bitcoin millionaires. We even have a member of the U.S. Senate telling Americans to buy Bitcoin and hold it for retirement.
Well, they're finally coming around, Chris. I was the lone voice in the wilderness in 2016, pounding the table, looking like an idiot to all my friends that worked on Wall Street. These same people here that you just mentioned, these same people called anyone who invested in Bitcoin crazy. I was personally called insane by longstanding friends of mine on Wall Street. They said things about me that are too vulgar to repeat. Look, I will tell you this. It's easy to jump on the Bitcoin bandwagon now that it's worth almost $1 trillion, right? Support for Bitcoin is an all-time high, but you don't make life-changing wealth by getting in when everybody else is getting in, unless you are already rich, unless you can put millions of dollars into an idea. But with that said, Chris, I still think a tremendous amount of money over the long term can be made on Bitcoin. And thanks to apps like Coinbase and Robinhood, it's never been easier to buy. And I couldn't be happier. Everyone should have the opportunity to own Bitcoin. It is a peerless asset. I'm going to be crystal clear on this point. Everyone watching this should absolutely own some Bitcoin. But if that's all you do today, you're missing out on a bigger capital appreciation opportunity. Remember what I said, Chris. I'm going to say this until I'm blue in the face because it's that important. If you want to make serious money in the markets, you must watch what the elites are doing. Do not watch what they are saying. Their actions are much more important. And right now, they're all saying, buy Bitcoin. They're practically shouting Bitcoin from the rooftops. But if you look at what they're doing with their own money that they're allocating, if you dive into the details of that huge increase in investment this year, like I have, that massive leap up to $17 billion, all of that money is not going into Bitcoin, not by a long shot. With all the buzz around Bitcoin, what's not being repeated is that insiders are backing up the truck and loading up on a different crypto. And that's why I'm here tonight. And the reason why they're doing that is simple. This crypto that I'm going to reveal tonight is growing 4 times faster than Bitcoin. And because it's growing so quickly, it has far more upside potential. And today, I'm going to tell you all about it and why you should absolutely own it.
Teeka, that's fantastic. Very intrigued by all of this. And that brings us to our topic tonight, as you just mentioned, the next trillion-dollar coin, where you say more money is flowing now, right?
That's what I'm seeing, Chris. And it's all happening so quickly, it's caught most people off guard. What we're seeing is, I hate to use this word because it's overused, but it's the appropriate word here. It's revolutionary. Right? Bitcoin shocked the world. It was an entirely new idea like nothing we've seen before. And it took most insiders, old money establishment types, a long time to come around. And many of them, like Warren Buffett, are still struggling.
Late to the party, so to speak?
Far too late. And it was humiliating. These experts that are supposed to be the smartest guys in the room, and yet they've all had to get down on their hands and knees and tell their clients, millionaires and billionaires, sorry, I didn't see Bitcoin coming. I cost you a 7-figure or 8-figure fortune. Think about if you were a big, sophisticated investor and you put $1 million in Bitcoin when I recommended it in 2016, you would have made as much as $150 million. $150 million. Well, look, Chris, I'm not here to rub salt in their wounds. Wall Street was wrong, but Wall Street isn't stupid. They're not going to stay wrong. So now that they've finally woken up to the potential of Bitcoin, do you think they're going to miss out on the next trillion-dollar coin?
Well, based on how much money they're pumping into the crypto market, it sure doesn't look like that.
No, of course not. They cannot afford to make the same mistake twice and miss out on the next big thing in crypto.
The next trillion-dollar coin.
Exactly.
Okay, so give me a moment to recap here. You say that venture capitalists, billionaires, publicly traded companies all want a piece of just one coin in addition to Bitcoin. We're talking about an entirely different crypto here, right? So I'm just going to come out and ask because I know we all want to know what is its name and how can you be so sure that it's going to go up faster and farther than Bitcoin? Because there's got to be at least 5,000 different cryptos that are floating around these days.
Chris, I promise you and everyone watching tonight, I will tell you the name, but I want to address your second question. You're right. Dozens of new cryptos launch each month, and many of them are just worthless. I mean, just absolutely worthless. So what makes the next trillion-dollar coin so special? In short, this coin is unlocking a new technology that could be as disruptive as the internet itself. In fact, this project is making a new iteration of the internet. And those aren't my words. They're from billionaire Mark Cuban. Despite being an early and vocal critic of crypto, he invested in this particular crypto, my trillion-dollar coin, I'm going to tell you all about tonight. Now, as you'll see later, this crypto is remaking the world in a way that, frankly, most people just cannot wrap their heads around. And that's why I believe it could be the next trillion-dollar coin. It's deeply misunderstood by most investors. And I believe if you buy it today, it could make you more money than Bitcoin.
So forget Bitcoin is what you're saying?
Chris, I did not say that. I am absolutely not saying that. I own Bitcoin. I have a lot of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is not going anywhere. It's a powerful, transformative asset, and everyone should own some. What I am saying, Chris, is that this isn't 2016. You can't get rich taking a small stake in Bitcoin as you could back in 2016. You take $1,000 and put it in Bitcoin now, you're not going to make $150,000 like you could if you bought it when I first recommended it in 2016. But we do have a second chance for those types of gains, thanks to the next trillion-dollar coin. And that's why I'm going to give you the next trillion-dollar coin and everybody watching here for free. But I want to make it very clear. Bitcoin is no slouch. It doubled in value this year, and I believe it will go significantly higher. But the crypto I'm going to reveal tonight, the one I believe will be the next trillion-dollar coin, it went up 465% this year. That means it's growing more than 4 times faster than Bitcoin. And that's why you want to own it.
4 times faster than Bitcoin. So even though it's a banner year for Bitcoin, you're saying this coin could have made me more than 4 times as much money just this year.
That's what you've missed out on so far. And that's why there's just no time to waste.
All right, but that begs the question, why don't more people know about it?
You could ask the same question about Amazon in 2003 or Apple in 2003. Here's what I've learned after almost 30 years as a professional investor. The biggest, most transformative investments, they're only obvious in hindsight. That's because they change the way we see the world. Could you imagine the frenzy for the iPhone back when you were carrying around a small flip phone? No. Were you clamoring for online shopping in 1997 when Amazon.com was launched? No. Do you know what people were saying back then? They were saying you'd have to be an idiot to put your credit card on an unsecure website back then. That's what people were saying, that e-shopping would never take off. Back then, did you think to yourself, gee, life would be perfect if only I had a better search engine when Google hit the market in 1998?
No, I totally see your point. And come to think of it, I had no idea any of those trends would be so big. Nobody did.
I want to thank you for being honest, Chris, because what you just said, it's true for something like 99.5% of the population. Very few people saw the potential that lay within the first iPhone, even the iPod, Google, or Amazon. Looking back, of course, it seems obvious, it seems inevitable, but I was in it. You have to understand that I have been professionally in the stock market since 1989. I have seen these trends come, and I've been in the middle of them. And when you're in the middle of them, they're not obvious. They were misunderstood. Almost every time a new and transformative technology emerges, it's ignored first because people can't understand the implications of the technology. It's only 5 years later it appears obvious or inevitable, just like Bitcoin now appears obvious and inevitable. And yet 5 years ago, you were considered cuckoo for buying Bitcoin.
Yeah, and that is usually the point at which I usually buy, when it seems big and when it seems safe.
That is the problem. I understand it takes time to warm up to something new, but if you wait too long, you miss out on the biggest gains. That's why it's so important to watch what the smartest investors in the world are actually doing.
Not what they're saying.
Not what they're saying. The smartest investors have seen the writing on the wall. They are not limiting themselves to just Bitcoin. You saw on that chart, the $17 billion flooding into crypto this year, which is bigger than all the money they've ever put into the crypto space combined. It means they're going all in. It means they're leaping into action. These people are moving hundreds of millions of dollars into the next trillion-dollar coin because they see the same thing I do. We're on the brink of another once in a generation opportunity. You see, for the first time in years, we have a second chance to make massive gains in crypto. We've been led to believe that this opportunity, is only in Bitcoin. But ask yourself, is there really only one way to make money here? That you are confined to just Bitcoin? No, absolutely not. Just like when the internet started to blow up, you had multiple opportunities in multiple stocks across multiple sectors. And it was the smaller, little known ideas that had the biggest absolute returns. And that is what's happening now.
Now, let me ask you, why do you say that? Little companies offering huge returns?
Look, let's consider the best case scenario. If Bitcoin hits $1 million, that's an enormous jump from here. At best, it could turn every $1,000 into roughly $20,000.
Right, but I have to ask, what's wrong with that? I know for most people, that is an eye-popping return.
But how much does $20,000 buy you in retirement? I mean, $20,000, you can buy a Honda Accord, you can pay your utility bills for the next few years. But if you went on The Price is Right and won $20,000, are you going to really run and tell your wife, honey, our money worries are over, let's go move into a condo into Hawaii? No way, right? But if you put $1,000 into Bitcoin when I first recommended it, when it was still small, that's a different story. You would have been sitting on as much as $150,000. Do you see the difference? 1,000 into 20,000 versus 1,000 into 150,000. It's the same asset. It's the same investment, but it's the timing that makes a huge difference. And that's what I'm great at, getting into these assets at the right time. That's what I call the power of being early and right. So if you want to grab some Bitcoin today, you should do it because it's going higher, 10 or 20x. But you need to be honest with yourself. You're not early anymore. You can't invest 1,000 or 10,000 or even 20,000 and expect to make millions of dollars in Bitcoin. For that to happen, remember, this is the best case scenario. You'd have to buy at least a whole Bitcoin worth over $40,000 at the time of this event. And most people can't stomach that risk. And frankly, that level of risk is not appropriate for most people.
Yeah, I'm trying to imagine telling my wife, honey, I bought $40,000 worth of Bitcoin. That's not going to end well.
Chris, this is the reason why I'm pounding the table on the next $1 trillion coin.
Yeah, but Teeka, help me out here. $1 trillion. That's a huge number. I mean, is there room in the world for $2 trillion cryptos? I mean, there are only a handful of companies that are worth that much, right?
I know $1 trillion is a massive number, but I want to put this in perspective for you. It took Apple 42 years to reach $1 trillion market cap. It took Amazon 24 years. Google hit the $1 trillion mark in 21 years. Bitcoin did it in just 12. But put aside how big that $1 trillion number sounds for a moment. I want you to see, do you see a pattern here?
Well, the obvious thing that jumps out, I think, is the pace at which it's happening faster and faster, right?
Exactly. And here's what I want you to remember. The next coin to hit $1 trillion, it's not going to take 20 years. It's not even going to take 12 years or even 2 years. I believe it can happen in the next 6 months. And when it happens, it will shock the financial world.
So from 20 years to 12 years to 6 months, that would be the fastest path to $1 trillion in history. So why is it that Wall Street is so obsessed with Bitcoin lately and not the next $1 trillion coin?
I'll say this again, and you're going to think I sound like a broken record. You must look at their actions, Chris, not their words, because that's when it becomes clear. Take JP Morgan, for example. It's set to launch the world's first actively managed Bitcoin fund. Why? Because wealthy clients are demanding it. But what is JP Morgan doing with its own money? This is what I mean when I say, look at what they're doing, not what they're saying. So for the past few years, it has been working on a secretive digital banking project. But at the core of this project, you're not going to find Bitcoin. It's centered on the next trillion-dollar coin, a coin that probably most people have never heard of.
Right. So publicly, outward facing, they're selling Bitcoin, but privately they're buying crypto's next trillion-dollar coin.
Exactly. And do you think they want competition? No. Take a look at Goldman Sachs. They told Yahoo Finance Bitcoin is now considered an investable asset, and they're giving their clients exposure to Bitcoin. But Chris, guess what they're doing in private?
No idea. I assume they're buying the coin too?
Well, recently we came across a leaked document from Goldman Sachs, and right here in black and white, it says the next trillion-dollar coin has a high chance of overtaking Bitcoin as a dominant store of value.
Yeah. All right. So again, they're selling clients on Bitcoin. They themselves, they're buying something completely different.
Correct. And with Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan, we're just scratching the surface. A little later, I'm going to show you a list of 24 companies secretly buying this coin. And what's so important for everybody watching tonight to understand is that this just isn't about the trillion-dollar coin. Now, I'll tell you this, Chris, if that's all you buy, you'll be far ahead of most investors. But there's an opportunity tied to the rise of this trillion-dollar coin that's even bigger. Now, I know that may sound confusing, but the same thing happened to me back when I first recommended Bitcoin in 2016. Remember, it soared from $428 up to $64,000, and it made some of my readers millionaires. But behind the scenes, a handful of much smaller cryptos tied to Bitcoin's rise took off and ended up rising much, much higher than Bitcoin.
Right. So you're saying that these other coins perform just as well as Bitcoin, maybe a bit better.
I didn't say a bit better, Chris. I said much, much higher. You've got to think bigger. I identified a handful of tiny coins known as altcoins that were all tied to Bitcoin's rise. And because they were so small, you could have bought them for pocket change. And when they took off, investors could have made a fortune. So while you could have made as much as 15,000 and 45% on Bitcoin, a small altcoin I recommended could have made you as much as 17,613%. Or look at another small altcoin. It went as high as 21,150%. That could have turned $1,000 into as much as $211,500. It's an incredible return, but it doesn't hold a candle to my best recommendation. That goes to a tiny altcoin that jumped as high as 151,323%. Just $1,000 into that one crypto, and you would have made as much as $1.5 million. That's a retirement nest egg for almost anyone, Chris.
Just incredible. You are proving the point. I now understand why they call you the #1 most trusted expert in crypto, but that seems unbelievable, incredible.
When I told my readers about these coins, that's precisely what many of them thought. Many of them were uncomfortable, and I can't blame them. It was 2016, 2017. It's hard to go first when no one else seems to get what you're doing, when the people that you're talking to about these ideas tell you every day that you've got to be an idiot for putting your money into magic internet money. But what I saw back then was with each passing week, more and more of my readers took action. And the ones who stepped outside of their comfort zone and just made a small bet, a calculated bet, Chris, it changed their lives. And I'm not talking about taking huge risk. I'll give you an example. Lori F., she started with just $400. That's all she could afford. She was unemployed. She was worried about losing her home. But guess what happened? She took that $400 using my ideas and turned it into $40,000.
$40,000. Wow, great story.
You know, for someone in Lori's position, that kind of money can mean all the difference in the world. Here's what she wrote. I invested $400, which has grown to $40,000 based on Teeka's advice. I'm currently unemployed, so this has helped me secure a home when I can't afford my mortgage. You have helped change my life during my darkest hours. It's incredible. Lori's not the only one. Andre C. bought Bitcoin shortly after I first recommended it, and he wrote, our crypto portfolio is now over $400,000. My wife and I are among those who have been made wealthier by your advice. Dave W. turned $10,000 into $330,000. They paid off their mortgage and bought a trip to Scotland. Dennis R. said simply, you've made me a millionaire. And again, all it requires is a small, calculated bet. So for example, Betty Jane, another reader of mine, turned $12,000 into over $1 million. In fact, we have a video clip. Can we put that up?
Teeka, I can't stop smiling. I just added up our crypto account balances, and because of you, the total is over $1 million. You've turned our starter egg of $12,000 into $1.2 million in a little over a year and a half. Wow, how is that possible? Thank you seems insufficient. You have sent my entire investing retirement goal into warp speed. I really want to thank you for all the reassuring extra updates and videos that you've sent to us. Anytime any bad crypto story breaks out somewhere around the world and crypto values have just taken a nosedive, my husband and I, all we've done is listen to your updates, read your advice, do what you say to do, and we absolutely have not sweated the volatility. We've now been through several volatility nosedives with you since teaming up about 19 months ago. But because of your advice and your instructions, well, we now have that unbelievable retirement nest egg, despite the volatility. We're very excited and very, very much looking forward to what you've told us is coming down the pike in the crypto world in the near future. And we are just going to keep hanging on as you continue piloting us on at warp speed. I really, really appreciate all the hard work you do for us and for all the members of the Palm Beach Confidential Club. Teeka, thank you. I am very grateful.
Teeka, got to make you feel good when you hear stories like that. Incredible, incredible story.
It's life-changing. But I want to make something clear. This kind of rags to riches story, it's not normal. It's not supposed to happen. But it can and does happen in the world of crypto. And now my research indicates it's going to happen once again. Now, am I saying everybody watching here will become a millionaire? No. And if anyone promises you something so outlandish, they're either deluding themselves or trying to delude you, and you should run the other way. What I am telling you is the potential is there to make massive gains if you take action now in the right section of names in this space, tied to crypto's next $1 trillion coin.
So Teeka, the last time that you came forward like this to recommend a $1 trillion coin, you were right. I get it. But what is it that makes you so confident this time around?
Chris, it's an excellent question. And to answer it, I'm going to show you a chart. This is the reason why I'm convinced this will be the next $1 trillion coin. It's called a triple transaction growth, 3x. Can you put that on the screen for a second?
And what is this we're looking at?
This chart shows the reason why this will be the next $1 trillion coin. It's the number of daily transactions for crypto's next $1 trillion coin versus Bitcoin. In other words, it's showing how many people are using the underlying technology. Now, do you notice how Bitcoin's usage has been flat for years?
Wow. And tell me if I'm reading this right. It looks like the usage of crypto's next $1 trillion coin has been skyrocketing.
It's been blowing up from 500,000 in 2020 to over 1.5 million in 2021. That's 3x more usage in just the last year. What does this mean in plain English? It means it's exploding in popularity. Chris, this is why this is not just the tech story of our lifetime, but the biggest investment opportunity of our generation. Because what happens when more people flock into a new technology?
Well, the value is going to go up, right?
Exactly. And when you think about it in simple terms, it should be obvious to everybody watching here. What happened to Google when more and more people made it their homepage? What happened when Amazon signed up more Prime customers? What happened to Apple as the iPhone became the best-selling phone in history?
Yeah, share prices went through the roof.
It went into outer space, Chris. Just look, it took 16 years for Amazon stock to break $300 a share. But then people started to pile into Prime in 2014. And immediately after, Amazon took off like a rocket, soaring to a recent high of over $3,700 a share. That's a 10x gain in just a few years, Chris. More usage drove the stock up. The same thing happened with Apple. 10 years ago, they sold 50 million products, but this year, they're on track to sell 500 million products. And look at what that's done to their share price, from around $20 to $145 today. That's a 600% increase. Again, I'll say it again, more usage equals more money. And here's one more. Look at this chart, which tracks Google stock. Over the last decade, as more of the world went online and discovered Google, their search volume exploded from around 2 million searches a day to over 25 million. Look what that's doing to the stock price. Google was trading for as low as $140 in 08. Google will hit $2,700 a share this year. That's an incredible 1,827% gain. It's truly that simple, Chris, and it's happening again. The same pattern is playing out with the next trillion-dollar coin. Let's pull up a chart showing those daily transactions again. Do you see it on the screen?
Yep, it's up now. Here it is.
Okay, remember, this is how many people are using the next trillion-dollar coin. Well, let's compare that to this next chart. This chart tracks its value. What do you notice here?
Well, it looks to me like the trends are similar. They're practically identical, yes?
Right. Higher usage equals higher value. That's why the higher movement in this coin has been breathtaking. Chris, like I said earlier this year, it's already up 465% this year.
Okay, well, there's no doubt in my mind, demand for this new coin is growing fast, but 465% this year, I got to tell you, that's pretty astonishing. And I'm a little worried that I'm going to be too late again.
Chris, you know that I love Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
I think that the performance on this coin will crush Bitcoin. And if I'm right, this could be the best investment of your life, which is why I want everybody watching here tonight to get this name of this coin and to buy it and put it in their accounts. And again, I'm going to give the name of this coin away for free. Now, here's something that's going to blow your mind. I'm convinced that Wall Street is vastly underestimating the growth potential of what I'm calling the next trillion-dollar coin.
Okay, but why? I mean, it is easy to look back and see how Amazon Prime hit it big, or why Apple, you mentioned them, why they were able to sign up a whole bunch of new customers. But what is the reason that people are turning to this new coin versus Bitcoin, or any other coin for that matter?
It all comes down to usage, to practical usage. The more a crypto is used, the more valuable it becomes. And my research suggests that this is going to be the most widely used crypto on the planet, not just for this year, but for the next 20, 30, 40, 50, maybe even the next 100 years. It's going to be a critical component for the entire crypto space. Now, look, I just showed you how JP Morgan is investing in it. And we don't have time to get into the full details, but JP Morgan moves $6 trillion a day around the world every day. Imagine how many expensive accountants, brokers, and money managers that takes. A ton, right, Chris?
Oh, they have to employ thousands at least.
It's a small army of bean counters. It costs a fortune.
Yeah.
What if you could replace them with a click of the button? What would it be worth to a company like JP Morgan if they could eliminate the need for 10,000 bean counters?
Millions.
Chris, billions. Remember when I said you got to think bigger? And that's what's behind the surge of investment in this one coin. You see, just like how machines replace factory workers over the last 100 years, by automating manual labor, traditionally known as blue collar work. Well, you know what this crypto does? It automates white collar work, the clerical office-based work done by highly paid accountants, highly paid lawyers, administrators, analysts, and managers. That's the key here, Chris. Like the automation of blue collar work, the Industrial Revolution created untold amounts of wealth. JP Morgan is banking that the automation of white collar work will be the next big revolution in business. And they're not alone. Right now, there is a mad dash for the next trillion-dollar coin because it's at the center of this coming revolution. Take a look at this. Amazon is using it to help their merchants more efficiently track customer activity. Microsoft is using it to protect their $23 billion software empire from piracy. FedEx is investing in it to track thousands of packages that pass through warehouses, airplanes, and shipping trucks worldwide. Healthcare groups like United Healthcare, Aetna, and Humana are looking into how it can deliver accurate information to ensure a high-functioning overall healthcare system. TD Ameritrade is using it to help investors commercialize the opportunity in cryptocurrencies. Toyota is testing it to help it develop self-driving cars. Merck Pharmaceuticals believes it could be the future for digital markets in healthcare and life sciences. Even Anheuser-Busch is using it to track marketing expenses. Oil companies like BP and Shell believe it could help in transmitting oil or electricity across long distances to reach consumers. Telecommunication giant Comcast has filed patents to use it to help secure data. This is all for the same trillion-dollar coin. And Starbucks is using it to track its entire supply chain. Every step from harvesting coffee beans to worldwide shipping to tracking the cup of coffee that ends up in your hands.
Okay, you mentioned a lot of companies there. Hold on. JP Morgan, Amazon, Microsoft, all of them are using crypto's next trillion-dollar coin. They're all using it?
All of them are using it right now. And that's just a small sample. Forbes found 24 companies worth $1 billion or more are using crypto's next trillion-dollar coin. If usage equals value, then you should get excited when you see this list, Chris.
Okay, wow. So I'm seeing tech companies on that list, biotech, the financial sector, shipping, retail.
Virtually every industry you can think of. That's why when Mark Cuban says it's disruptive, when Peter Thiel says it will change the world, and Mark Andreessen has called it the most important technology since the internet.
Yeah, those are big guys. They're all heavy hitters. So what do they see exactly?
Chris, they're seeing the same thing that I'm seeing, that we're on the brink of a major shift in the way the biggest firms in the world run their businesses. Think about this. The last time this happened was about 23 years ago when companies started to go online.
Okay, so around the same time that Google launched back in, 1998?
Correct. But here's something you might not know. The internet was not invented in the late 90s. It sprung to life way back in 83.
1983. So you're telling me it was just sitting there, waiting around for somebody to do something with it for 10 or 15 years?
That's right. It took all the way until the 90s for business to start going online. Get this, Chris. Microsoft did not have its first website until 1994. McDonald's, the New York Times, and Apple, they didn't launch their first website till 96. And from there, the web grew exponentially as more businesses realized that not having a website was not an option, but it was a requirement for doing business in the 21st century. And that was when the internet really started to take off. And that's why I keep bringing up Google, Amazon, Apple, and all these other internet companies. Because if you had invested in these companies at the right time, you got insanely rich. You never had to worry about money again. And that's why I'm pounding the table on crypto's next trillion-dollar coin. The reason is timing. You see, in technology, there's a predictable pattern that plays out again and again and again and again. We can trace it going back a century. The first car was invented in 1886, but the technology didn't take off until Henry Ford's Model T took over the streets 25 years later. We saw it with computers. PCs popped up in the 70s, but they weren't common in households until the 90s, 2 decades later. And then we saw it with smartphones. Apple's first portable smart device, the Newton, came out in 1993. But it wasn't until the iPhone launched 14 years later that everyone wanted one. My point is, new and disruptive ideas, they don't catch on overnight. They follow the same path of interest and acceptance, which is known as the adoption curve. And it looks like this image on your screen. If you invest too early in the innovation space when the technology is being developed, you're going to be sitting around for 10, 15, maybe even 20 years before you see any returns.
So just to make sure that I've got this, that would be like investing in the internet way back in 1983.
Right. It's just far too early. On the flip side of that, if you invest too late in the saturation phase, when everyone knows about it, you miss out on all the biggest gains. But in the middle, this kind of meat of the curve in that takeoff phase, that's when you make massive money. And that's the time to get in.
Right. I'm following what you're saying here. We're past the early adoption stage that we saw with Bitcoin.
Yeah, look, the odds are you won't see 100x move from Bitcoin again. It's just too big. So what that means for regular investors is the chance to change your life with Bitcoin from a tiny investment is gone, right? Let me repeat that. You can still make a lot of money in Bitcoin if you already have a lot of money, but the opportunity to take a small investment in Bitcoin and see life-changing results, you're not going to see that. But today, we have a second chance to make a fortune thanks to the next trillion-dollar coin and a handful of even smaller cryptos tied to the rise of crypto's next trillion-dollar coin.
Teeka, I am so on edge right now. I can't take the suspense anymore. We've got to know this name. What is the next trillion-dollar coin, please?
All right, Chris, I promised everyone here that I would tell them. I promised you that I would tell you what it is. So I'm going to tell you right now the coin that I believe will be the next coin to hit a $1 trillion valuation. It will be a coin that when it hits that $1 trillion value will have hit it faster than any other asset in the world, even faster than Bitcoin. The name of that coin is Ethereum, ETH. I believe Ethereum is not only going to be a $1 trillion coin this year, but over the course of time, it has the potential to be a massive multi-trillion-dollar coin. Because owning this crypto gives you a stake in the fastest growing new platform we've seen since the birth of the internet. And very soon, Ethereum could eclipse Bitcoin in value. So here's what I want everybody doing watching tonight, including you, Chris. Step one, buy some Ethereum right now. Step two is to buy 4 other altcoins that are tied to the rise of Ethereum. Now, these cryptos are much, much smaller than Ethereum. So the potential gains are much, much higher. If events play out, as I suspect they will, just a small stake in these coins, $250, $500, maybe $1,000, could grow into a 5 or 6 figure fortune.
And Teeka, for folks out there who never bought a cryptocurrency in their life, I want to take a moment to point something out here. You have created a kind of crypto master course, right? To walk them through all of the basics in plain English. Have I got that right?
Yeah, it's an incredible master course. It walks everybody step by step through every process involved in owning a crypto. It shows you where you can safely buy crypto, how to open an account, and how to place your first crypto trade.
Right. Terrific. Sounds terrific, because I know that not everyone has owned cryptos before, so I'm very glad that you're giving away this course. It's going to help a lot of people, I know. But I don't want to get ahead of ourselves here. I need to step back for just a moment. Can you tell us exactly what Ethereum is? And how are these smaller coins linked to it? And again, I may have asked you this before, but why are you so confident that they're going to rise in value too?
The reason is simple, and it goes back to Bitcoin. you got to think of Bitcoin. A lot of people confuse Bitcoin with everything else. You've got to think of Bitcoin as the equivalent of digital gold. It's a store of value. You can't build on it. You can't really do much with it other than you buy it, you throw it in a safe, and you forget about it. And let me be clear to everyone watching here. I like gold. There's nothing wrong with hard money. It stood the test of time, thousands of years. But the world doesn't run on gold anymore. Businesses are not powered by gold. You can't build a new technology on top of gold. And you can't build new technology on top of Bitcoin right now. And that's why insiders are so excited about Ethereum, because it's not just a single purpose use coin like Bitcoin. Bitcoin is just a store of value, same like gold. Ethereum has a much, much bigger use case, right? So you're obviously familiar with the term blockchain technology, right, Chris?
Yeah, I had a feeling that's where you've headed. Yeah, blockchain is one of the biggest buzzwords in tech, right?
Blockchain is the technology that Bitcoin and every other cryptocurrency possible. But Bitcoin was merely the first major use case for blockchain. So you can think of it as blockchain's first killer app, right? Which was digital gold, store of value. Ethereum takes blockchain tech to a whole new level. Now, I first realized its potential about 6 years ago when I met up with this guy, one of the most powerful men in crypto. Here's a picture of us together. His name is Vitalik Buterin. Today, he's one of the world's youngest billionaires, and he got there by co-founding Ethereum. And his stroke of genius was this. He realized blockchain technology could be used for more than just a store of value.
More than just storing value. He saw it as bigger than Bitcoin.
Right. He saw it as something that you could do more on with the technology than just use it as digital gold. His true stroke of genius was realizing that blockchain could power a global computer the entire world could run on, and it could one day become the infrastructure for an entirely new type of internet. So unlike Bitcoin, that was never meant to have other applications developed on it. It was never meant to be more than a store of value. Vitalik Buterin co-created Ethereum to become the world's first programmable blockchain, right? It's a development platform. That's why Silicon Valley loves it. Ethereum is a much more flexible development platform. It's one that developers can build other programs on top of, the same way they can on Microsoft or iOS or Android. And it's changing everything. Experts are calling this new iteration of the internet Web 3.0. And this is why I'm so excited about this opportunity. If you own Ethereum, you own something that no one in history has ever held before, a direct stake in the backbone of this new internet, Web 3.0. Can you see why this is a bigger story than the single purpose use that Bitcoin has?
Yeah, much bigger. A whole new internet. It does sound big, no doubt about that. But I have to tell you, it is kind of difficult to wrap your mind around the entire concept here and see where it's going. Why do we need a new internet? Anyway, let me ask you that.
Well, let's put it in terms we're familiar with. You know how your computer at home runs apps like TurboTax or Microsoft Word to create documents, right?
Yeah, those are two biggies. Absolutely.
Well, each of those programs runs on a software platform like the Mac operating system or the Windows operating system.
Okay, I'm with you.
So the simplest way to think of Ethereum is it's the platform of the future, but it's the platform for a global computer. Do you remember how much money Microsoft made by having the operating system for the desktop computer? Do you remember that? You don't? Okay, I do. It was a staggering amount of money. Microsoft went public with a $500 million market cap, and they're worth well over $1 trillion today. And that was just for the desktop computer. Ethereum is going to be the operating system for the blockchain. It's what every program is going to run on all around the world. and it's going to cause a massive explosion in the value of Ethereum. Now, along with Ethereum's rise, there are smaller cryptos which run on Ethereum. And these are the killer apps of the future, the TurboTax, the Microsoft Word, the Excel. And that's what I mean when I say they're linked to Ethereum, because they run on the Ethereum blockchain. So as the Ethereum blockchain grows in popularity, more and more people will use these apps, these smaller cryptos, and that causes an explosion of value in these smaller coins that are tied to the ascendancy of Ethereum.
I think I'm seeing the connection here. These smaller coins, they're reminding you of the group of altcoins that were linked to Bitcoin, which soared years ago. We talked about that earlier.
Exactly. And that's the second opportunity we have right now, right? Bitcoin is already ascendant. It's already near $1 trillion. And as I saw that ascension, I recommended several smaller coins that were tied to the rise of Bitcoin. And those coins ended up actually going up higher than Bitcoin because they were starting from a smaller base. So you had gains of like 17,613%, 21,150%, and 151,323%. Now, 5 years later, the same exact pattern is starting to play out again right before our eyes. But except this time, it's a much bigger playing field. For example, in December 2020, I recommended 6 altcoins that run on Ethereum. And every one of them could have tripled your money or more. I'm talking about gains of 207%, 229%, 434%, 467%, 560%, and even 672%.
Teeka, sorry, why am I seeing all these names blurred out?
Because those names are for my Palm Beach Confidential readers only. So revealing those names on those open positions wouldn't be fair to them. But here's the thing. Those aren't even my top performers. Another altcoin I recommended just last November has gone up as much as 1,257%. And a month before that, in October, I recommended another one that went up as much as 1,374% since then. And right before the pandemic broke out, I recommended 5 altcoins tied to crypto's next $1 trillion coin. So what happened? The worst one went up 71%, while the top 3 performers all peaked north of 2,000%. Now, these aren't some crazy back tests I had some kid dig up for me on my research team. These are all live recommendations that I have made to my readers, and they're still active, so I can't reveal their names. Now, of course, all investments carry risk, and these are some of my best calls. And I can't promise you'll see gains that big. But can you see why I say this is such a massive opportunity? Because you might have to wait years, even decades, to see gains like this in the stock market. And yet, if you got into smaller cryptos linked to Ethereum, you could have already made 8 times your money, 11 times your money, even as much as 20 times your money, enough to potentially turn every $1,000 invested into $20,000. And despite all this money that's been made, it's still early, Chris. It's still early. Do you remember that we looked at that picture of where we are in the adoption curve?
Teeka, I think a light bulb just sort of turned on over my head. This is explaining why all of those VCs are in such a buying frenzy right now. The record-setting $17 billion that have flooded in this year, more than all previous years combined, they don't want to miss the next Netscape or the next Facebook or PayPal. So they're buying not just Ethereum. In some cases, they're putting millions into these smaller coins that run on the Ethereum network.
You're absolutely correct. And I'm so glad that I've explained this in a way that's making sense. This is why I've come forward. It's my goal to help every investor understand why it's critical to own Ethereum. The symbol is ETH. You can buy it on Coinbase or any crypto exchange, even PayPal, Square, or Robinhood. Now, look, I've said it before, I'll say it again, and I know I sound like a broken record. But if that's all you do, if you only buy Ethereum, Chris, you could be missing out on the biggest gains, because there are much smaller cryptos tied to the Ethereum network that are likely to soar much, much higher than Ethereum. Just like how my earlier altcoin picks that were tied to Bitcoin. This time around, with these picks tied to Ethereum, you could perhaps see 10x, 50x, maybe even 100x bigger move than Ethereum itself. That's why I put all the details on my top 4 tiny cryptos in a report I'm calling the $1 trillion coin portfolio. Here's what I want to make clear, Chris. Not only do I foresee Ethereum going to $1 trillion market cap, and further, it will have a multi-trillion-dollar market cap. But I believe the collective moves of the 4 altcoins in my special report that are built on Ethereum over time will eclipse that $1 trillion mark in combined value. Just like in 2016, I believe this is a unique moment in time where you can take a small amount of money and radically transform your life through crypto's next $1 trillion coin.
Teeka, this is terrific. Folks, for those of you watching, we are going to show you how to claim a copy of this report in just a few moments. But the more you understand what's happening, the more fascinating this is getting. So when you request a copy, Teeka is also going to send you another report, and this is one that could help you retire rich, even if you never buy a single crypto, right?
That's right, Chris. As I've shown you today, the biggest, most transformative trend in the world is blockchain technology. And the reason we have such a huge opportunity is that many so-called experts, they just don't get it. And if you listen to them, if you give in to their apathy, their fear, their skepticism, cost you a fortune. Just the same way they cost you a fortune in the lead up to the dot-com boom more than 20 years ago. Like, I dug through the archives, Chris, and just take a look at what these so-called authorities were saying back then about the early days of the internet. It's all hype, says Newsweek. They wrote off Tim Berners-Lee, who is in the Internet Hall of Fame for inventing the World Wide Web, who was then knighted by the Queen of England and is today backing Ethereum. You know what they said? They just wrote him off merely as a computer geek. Even Nobel Prize-winning economist Paul Krugman, who I don't understand how he could have ever won a Nobel Prize, when he made this statement, he compared the internet to a fax machine. He said it would have no more economic impact to the world than a fax machine. Now, in retrospect, it's obvious how wrong they all were about the internet. And anyone who listened to them missed out on a once-in-a-generation opportunity. The question is, will you listen to them today? Will you sit on the sidelines to wait and see, or will you take action? Because the World Economic Forum predicts blockchain could disrupt $867 trillion in traditional markets. Do you just want to sit by and watch that happen? Or do you want to be a part of it?
$867 trillion? That is mind-boggling, Teeka.
Yeah, think about this, right? There's only a few times in history where you see that much wealth moving and being thrown around. And that's the opportunity here. You get to move in front of that wealth. I get it's hard to wrap your head around something this big, but look at it this way. The cryptocurrency market is a tiny fraction of that number. It's only about $2 trillion. The important thing to understand is that we're on the brink of a technological shift, unlike anything we've seen before the dawn of the internet. Most people, including the so-called top experts, they don't get it. They may never get it. They're going to be way too late to the party, and they could be kicking themselves for the rest of their lives. That's what I want to make sure, Chris, that both you and everybody watching tonight knows what's happening. And most importantly, they know how to take advantage of it. It's why I've taken great strides to put the correct information in everyone's hands today. So when you reach out to my company, Palm Beach Research, I'll send you a report called The Investment of the Decade, the top plays that will power blockchain's revolution.
Teeka, I know a lot of people are going to want not just that one, but all of the bonuses that you've mentioned so far. So let me take just a moment here. I want to pass along some instructions to everyone on how they can get these reports instantly. And folks, it's very simple. Everything that Teeka has mentioned is available right now to new members of the Palm Beach Letter. And the minute you request access, you're going to get the investment of the decade, the top plays that will power blockchain's revolution. You'll get his Crypto Master course, which we talked about earlier. That'll hold your hand through the process of how to get started investing in crypto. And of course, you'll discover his next top 4 altcoins. In the $1 trillion coin portfolio, you'll get the name of the 4 coins which are tied to the rise of Ethereum, or as Teeka calls it, the next $1 trillion coin. You're going to get an in-depth breakdown of each one with some very simple instructions on how you can get your hands on these coins. Plus, Teeka's recommended buy up to price. So in short, everything that you need to get up to speed. Teeka, let me ask you, what is the Palm Beach Letter for the folks at home who may not know?
The Palm Beach Letter is my flagship research service. It's where I analyze what's going on in the markets each month, and I share it with my readers. The whole point of the Palm Beach Letter is to give you an understanding of the big picture, of what's going on in the financial world, but more importantly, how to make money from it. Each month, we send out an update with clear instructions on what to buy, what to sell, or what to hold, along with our analysis of what's happening in the markets and how you can profit. Now, there's something about the Palm Beach Letter that's very different. We do not accept any advertising revenue at all. We do not take commissions on anything we recommend, and we don't take positions in anything we recommend, which makes us different from the Wall Street Journal or the Investor's Business Daily. We give you simple, actionable advice, and we are beholden to no one but our readers. And the fact that we don't sell advertising means we either perform for our readers or we don't, because the only revenue stream we have is our subscription revenue stream.
And that is great news, Teeka. I'm glad you shared that. You know, I really wish I had something like this when I was starting out, I'll tell you, because man, we're up against it these days. And what I mean is we've got a 401k or a brokerage account, and somehow we're expected to invest our money and take care of our retirement. And for most people, that is a daunting task.
Yeah, it's beyond daunting. How do you build your career, have your family life, have your community life, and then be an expert on investing? It's just an impossible task. It's why so many people feel overwhelmed right now. And look, if you don't trust the media to tell you the facts, and if you don't trust the government to take care of you, then we speak the same language. You're going to love the Palm Beach Letter. I've made it my life's work to help make investing fun and simple, and most of the time profitable, because I know how hard investing is for most people. I know what it's like to literally have nothing in the bank, to be facing down a stack of bills and have no idea how they're going to get paid off. Chris, you might not know it just looking at me today, but I didn't start out wealthy. I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. I actually grew up in the UK, and I was raised in the foster care system. But when I was 16 years old, I made one decision that changed everything. I left England for the United States, and it wasn't easy. I left with $150 in my pocket, literally the clothes on my back. And when I landed in New York City, I had no contacts. Again, I had nothing but the clothes that I was wearing and the little bit of money in my pocket. What I realized was no one was going to hand me the life I wanted. So I did the only thing I could. I worked like a dog, flipping burgers at Roy Rogers by day, unloading freight on Brooklyn docks at night, working weekends. But then, in a crazy twist of fate, my life changed. I took an entry-level job at Shearson Lehman and worked my way up to become the youngest vice president in the firm's 119-year history. Long story short, I made my employer a ton of money, and I made myself a ton of money.
Sounds like it was a lot of fun.
It was not a fun process. No, it was not. It was a grind. Yes, in hindsight, I can say it was a grand adventure, and the money was life-changing. but my days were brutal. I mean, they were 16-hour days, 7 days a week. Most people call that overtime. On Wall Street, it's the bare minimum. But, along the way, something changed. Yes, I was making a ton of money, but I was missing out on time with my family. And for what? To make a bunch of millionaires and billionaires even richer. So as time wore on, I couldn't ignore the truth. Wall Street was this engine of enormous wealth creation, but also inequality, right? It was what I realized was I was contributing to the widening wealth gap in the United States. I didn't like the way that felt. And so that's why I decided to quit and find a way that I could use my skills to help everyday Americans improve their lot in life, not just multimillionaires, the people that I was working, for before. I wanted to have an impact, Chris.
Well, I got to tell you, judging by the results, I know a lot of people out there are very glad you did. You've gotten them some great results.
I got to say, nothing gives me more happiness than hearing success stories from my readers. When someone follows my advice and sees a meaningful change in their life, I can't explain how that feels. You can't buy that feeling, right? So the most important thing to know for everybody out there is you're not alone. The so-called American dream, it's not so easy to get anymore because you can't just work hard and save money. You've got to invest wisely. It's the only way to get ahead, unless you're already rich. If you're not already rich yet, most people, even if they're making $200,000 a year and save every penny left over, they would be lucky to amass $1 million for retirement. Life is getting expensive.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm glad you said that because I've had the very same worries myself, Teeka, because it seems to me like the price of everything is going up nowadays, everything.
I mean, you're not the only person to feel that way. And that's why I've made it my personal mission to help as many people as I possibly can. In the last 5 years, our group has grown to over 165,000 people. And I'm proud to have been able to help them outperform the stock market by a factor of 12 to 1. That's better than that's a 12x better return. And we're doing that here at the Palm Beach Letter. We're changing lives. But there are millions of people who are still struggling. You look at your 401k balance, it's nowhere near where it needs to be. You want to buy a new home or send kids to college, and it all seems out of reach. Or you wait until the end of the year and hope for a raise from your boss. Maybe you get lucky, maybe you don't. But it all comes down to this. No one will care more about your financial future than you. And that's why I'm here. You must take the reins of your own wealth creation, and you must do it in a way that doesn't risk your current lifestyle.
Yeah, can you take a moment to tell us a little bit more about your research? I think you mentioned you had a team. How exactly does that work?
Sure. Our goal is to keep it very simple. So each month you'll get a breakdown of the biggest trends in the market, and we write in a very easy to understand way. And you'll also get my #1 investment recommendation for the month.
Yeah, I understand you do more than just pick investments to buy in this research advisory, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is what drives me nuts, Chris, when I see self-proclaimed gurus out there touting amazing track records and they never tell you when to sell. How can you possibly even have a track record if you never recommend closing your investments? So right away, the moment you become a subscriber to the Palm Beach Letter, we will place your name on my profit sell alert list as well. I notify the folks on this list the moment it's time to take some profits by selling part or all of a position. So I'll give you an example. Back on January 4th, 2018, I sent a profit sell alert to my subscribers before the big crypto crash that happened just 3 days later. That helped them lock in an 11,318% gain. That's 110 times your money. Here's a screenshot from earlier this year when I told readers to lock in gains of up to 38,000% right before a huge correction.
Perfect timing, absolutely perfect.
In addition to that, we also have a free daily note we send out to those who are interested. And of course, that's on top of our US-based client support team. Again, US-based, everybody will speak excellent English. Our model portfolio. No, it's a big deal, Chris. Don't you hate calling when you have a problem? and the other person just can't understand you. It's so frustrating. Yeah. So we'll also get access to our model portfolio. And that's where you're going to find a list of all our current picks and all of our actionable ideas.
All of that is terrific. Bear with me. I want to back up to something you mentioned earlier. When you say the Palm Beach letter portfolio is outperforming the market 12 to 1, I want to make sure I'm understanding. Did I hear you right? 12 to 1?
You did. And it's a remarkable track record. And probably most people watching this are going to have some skepticism. I think that's the best word. That's the nice word, right? But here's the thing. We've documented every buy and sell recommendation I've made since 2016, which is when I took over the reins of the Palm Beach letter. Now, of course, the stock market's been doing great since 2016. It's up 22.6% as measured by the average gain per recommendation for the S&P 500. But I knew that people would be skeptical of my profit claims. So what did I do? I had my model portfolio audited. I had an independent audit team go through the numbers. And they confirm since 2016, I've delivered an average annual return per recommendation of 281%.
Yeah, 281% versus, what'd you say, 22.6%? There's no comparison there. So given all of these facts, Teeka, I'm actually a little surprised how little you actually charge for access to your research. If the price were $2,000 a year, or even $1,000 per year, it would be a bargain. And yet the retail price of the Palm Beach letter is just $199. And I'm told that you actually have another bonus for folks who take this risk-free subscription today. Can you tell us more about that?
Sure. One thing I want to mention first is with the Palm Beach letter, my sincere hope is that we can help people improve their financial lives, and in turn, that they stick with me for the long haul. Because, my publisher does not come out ahead unless you're making money. It's as simple as that, right? We will probably lose money or make a little bit of money at that $199 level, which brings me to this extra bonus you mentioned and how valuable it is. The whole point of my research is to help people find and tap into what I call asymmetrical investments. That's where you only have to invest a small amount of money for the chance to make a lot of money. The next $1 trillion coin and all the coins tied to it are a perfect example of that investment strategy. Just as Bitcoin was years ago, where you could take $1,000 and turn it into $150,000. That's asymmetric investing. If you lose $1,000, yeah, it's not pleasant, but it's not the end of the world. But to risk only $1,000 to make $150, do you see how you stack the odds in your favor and you don't need to invest a lot in order to potentially make a lot?
I love the sound of that. Tell us more.
Now, there's another asymmetrical investment I want to share with everybody tonight as well. It's a backdoor way for the little investor to invest almost on the same terms as a billionaire. It involves a market that historically has been off limits to retail investors. I'm talking about investing in companies that are about to go public. So I'm sure you've heard the term IPO, stands for initial public offering, right? That's the moment when a private company becomes available to buy or sell on the public stock exchange. So listen, anybody watching here knows that the IPO market has been on fire. It's never been hotter, says Bloomberg. Fortune calls it record-breaking, on fire, historic, extremely active, very busy. And with CNBC just reporting the IPO market had its strongest second quarter in 20 years. This is the kind of market where a few well-placed moves can transform your life. And while it's possible to make money buying shares of the hottest new companies on the day they go public, it's nothing compared to what the insiders are seeing. And by insiders, I mean the wealthy and connected folks who get in first, who get in before the IPO. Now, these types of shares, Chris, they're called pre-IPO shares. And if you can get them, they can be life-changing. So I'll give you an example. Zoom Info stock soared 62% the day it went public. Now, look, most people, you make 62% in a day. You're calling the wife and you're telling her, listen, we're going to have a special dinner tonight, right? That's a celebration. But do you know how much money the Wall Street investors who got in the pre-IPO made on the same exact day, Chris? They made was 3,555%.
The very same, what was it, Zoom Info? 62% versus 3,555%. Teeka, that's unbelievable. That's crazy.
And it happens all the time. Accolade popped 35% the day it went public. Again, 35% in a day. It's great. But do you know what the pre-IPO guys made? They made 9,800%. 9,800%, Chris. It's crazy. Here's another crazy one. Investors who got in on Agora IPO day had the opportunity to make 153%. It doubles your money in a day. Look, you do that and you're a hero. Again, call up your wife. She's the one popping the champagne when you told her you made 153% in a day. Now, you feel like a hero until you discover what the pre-IPO investors made. They made 50,400% on their money that same day.
50,000. Did you say 50? 50,400%. I would throw up. It would make me sick if I knew I made 153%, someone else makes over 50,000% on the very same deal.
Right. 153% is a celebration, but you can't buy a new house with 153% or pay your kids' college tuition or retire on 153,000%. But 50,400%, just one deal like that, and you can kiss your money worries goodbye for life. Now, here's been the problem with these types of deals. Most people could not access these deals because Wall Street wants these pre-IPO deals for themselves. However, I found a way in. And when you take a risk-free subscription to the Palm Beach Letter, I'll also give you my free report called the Wall Street Backdoor, and it will walk you step by step on how to get into pre-IPO deals through a regular brokerage account.
So no hoops to jump through, no special accounts. It's fascinating. I can't wait to check all this out. If you're out there watching and wondering how you can get started, you can get everything that Teeka has mentioned today 100% risk-free. I know we've covered a lot, so let me quickly recap everything that you'll get when you take a risk-free trial to Teeka's research. Number one, you get 12 months of the Palm Beach Letter. That includes Teeka's best investment ideas delivered on the first Thursday of each month. That is a $199 value. You get a ton of free bonuses, including Teeka's Crypto Master Course. That gives you everything you need to know to safely invest in crypto. That is a $499 value. The $1 trillion coin portfolio, which includes his 4 top altcoin recommendations, also a $199 value. You're going to get the investment of the decade, the top plays that will power blockchain's revolution, again, $199 value, and the Wall Street Backdoor, which you just talked about, that's a $99 value. And if you have any questions at all, aside from personal advice, of course, Teeka's team is there standing by ready to help you. In addition, you're going to get full support from his US-based customer support team. Call or email them anytime if you have any questions about your subscription. You'll get access to Teeka's model portfolio, which has delivered, as he said earlier, 281% average gains since 2016. And I want to point out that is the average gain for every recommendation. Now, of course, all investments do carry risk, and the crypto market can be very volatile. So folks, please do not bet the farm here. And besides, with the type of percent gains you've seen here today, just a small stake can go a very long way. All of this valuable research can be found on the members-only website. So everything is going to be easy to find. It's right at your fingertips, from monthly issues to updates. And you'll even get priority notification via email and text messages each time Teeka uncovers some new investment opportunity. He'll push that out to you. Now, altogether, that's a total value of $1,195. That's an incredible bargain. The retail price of the Palm Beach Letter is $199. But today, you're not going to pay anywhere near that, because the whole point of this interview is to help as many people as possible. We do not want anyone to feel excluded or feel like this kind of life-changing advice is out of reach financially. So today, Teeka has done something. To say, or to use the word generous would be an understatement. He has secured an additional 75% discount from his publisher. That takes the price all the way down to $49. That's about $4 a month, the equivalent of a cup of coffee in most places, for access to elite research that has proven to transform the lives of everyday Americans. It is an absurdly good deal, Teeka, absurdly good.
And that's the point. You know, the whole point of the Palm Beach letter is to give my readers the kind of insights I'd want if our roles were reversed, and to do it in a way that doesn't break the bank. You know, everybody watching here, you're new with me. I want to just make this a no-brainer decision as possible, so you can see what we're doing for hundreds of thousands of our readers.
Terrific, Teeka. Again, beyond generous. Generous really doesn't capture it. Remember, folks, your subscription is 100% risk-free. And specifically, you're going to get 60 days to go through everything. Go through Teeka's Crypto Master course and discover the coins in his $1 trillion coin portfolio. Get everything that you've seen and heard talked about today. And during that time, if you're not completely thrilled, just contact the US-based customer service team and cancel the subscription. You'll get a full refund, no questions asked. And you don't have to return anything. Keep everything that you've gotten, right? As Teeka's way of saying thank you. You should see a link coming up on your screen now. You can click this button, and what will happen is you'll be taken to a secure order form where you can read all about this deal in more detail, including all of the benefits of being a member of the Palm Beach letter. You want to find out the names of Teeka's next 4 altcoins, which I know I do, you absolutely want to click that button right now. Teeka, I hate to tell you this, we are actually running a little short of time. Let me kick this back to you. Is there anything else in the time we have left that you'd like to share with viewers out there?
There is. Long before Bitcoin became crypto's first $1 trillion coin, when I recommended it in 2016, all I heard was, where were you, Tiwari, when Bitcoin was 10 cents? Where were you, Tiwari, when Bitcoin was $1? Where were you, Tiwari, when Bitcoin was $25? Where were you when Bitcoin was $175? How can I buy it now? It's $400. A lot of people couldn't see that it was going to go much, much, much higher. And they missed out on a literal fortune, both from Bitcoin and all the smaller cryptos that were tied to its rise. The same ones I recommended, which soared as high as 151,323%. They're going to have to live with that decision, the regret from that decision for the rest of their lives. If you were one of those people that missed out, I'm not here to say I told you so. I don't care about that. What I care about is you taking advantage of this rare second chance that we have today to act on the information I've shared with you today, and to not ignore it. I urge you to click on the link and make your decision now. I've shown you the billionaires flooding in. I've shown you the surge in usage. I've shown you how Ethereum is on track to become the fastest asset in history to reach $1 trillion value. I don't know how much longer this window of opportunity will be open for. But one thing I do know, your chance to be early and right on this trend could soon be gone. And when it's gone forever. I want to thank you for taking the time to be here with us today, to listen to this message. I cannot wait to have you come join me at the Palm Beach Letter, and I look forward to welcoming you into the Palm Beach Letter family. And as I always like to say, I want you to always remember, let the game come to you.